Welcome everyone to another episode of Gear Modder. I've gotten several requests to help explain some of the features of the knife, the different terminologies. And so for today's episode, I'm going to use the Scallywag Tactical Gunner's Mate because it has most of the different features of a blade, most of the common ones. And so we're going to go over the anatomy of a knife. Let's get started. Now let's discuss the anatomy of a knife. Starting from left to right, we have the handle. The handle can be either a full tang or partial tang handle. The tang is the part of the blade that goes into the handle. And we have the pins or the rivets. These hold the handle onto the tang. They can be pins or rivets depending on how the knife is made. Then you have the pommel, which is the end of the handle. You have the handle scales that enclose the tang. The handle scales can be made of different materials. In this case, is G10. G10 is a common material used in handle making. We have the front and rear guards, known as quillions. We have the ricasso. The ricasso is part of the blade that protrudes from the handle before you get to the primary grind. You have the choil comes next. Now the choil was originally designed, if I'm correct, it was originally designed so that you can sharpen the entire length of the blade without hitting the handle. So part of that blade was removed to give you a little extra room for sharpening. Some knife makers, including this one, they rounded off the ricasso into the choil to make room for your finger to fit there so that you can choke up on the blade. And this is known as a finger choil. Past the ricasso, you get to the plunge line. This is where the first grind begins. And it's known as your primary bevel or grind. Now the primary bevel makes a huge difference depending on the style of the blade. It makes a difference how it does with chopping, how it does with carving, and there are a number of different types of grinds. You have hollow grinds and convex grinds, a number of different types of grinds that are used, again, depending on the purpose of the blade. Then you have the secondary bevel or grind. Now that's the sharpened edge that does the cutting. Then you have the belly or the sweep of the blade where it starts tapering towards the tip or the point, the spine of the blade, and then you have the thumb ramp. Now there are other features of the blade that some blades might have. For example, jimping is used sometimes, and I'll show you an example of that here in just a little bit. So that is the basic anatomy of a knife. Depending on the knife maker, the purpose of the blade, there are other features that can be thrown in there. For example, this is your finger swell. Every knife, again, a little bit different depending on the manufacturer. This is the Michael Hawk Peregrine that I referenced in another video. The finger swell was closer to the hilt of the blade, closer to the guard. And then on this knife, it's further back, and that's on purpose. It was designed to where you could comfortably hold it with two fingers past the finger swell, or if you were to choke up on the blade, it would still be an extremely comfortable fit. We talked about jimping. This knife has the jimping here right before the thumb ramp. And it's designed to give you traction as you're doing push cuts, or if you're stabbing something, it gives you that kind of traction there. Not all knives have that jimping. This knife just has the thumb ramp, but not the jimping. Just a close-up again of what that jimping looks like. Now sometimes the finger swell can be more of a palm swell, so if you look at something like the LMF2, it has more of a palm swell. There's not a dedicated cutout for your fingers. It's just designed to give you that really good grip. And so you'll see on some knives, it'll be a palm swell instead of a finger swell. The other thing you'll notice on some knives is manufacturers that are proud of their metals will stamp their metal on the blade. And so this knife is made of 1/4 inch. You can see how thick that is. Let's bring it to the camera here. 1/4 inch D2 steel. So they're proud of their D2. D2 is a really good steel. And that's a conversation for another day, different kinds of steels. But it's a great steel quality for a knife. You can see kind of the thickness difference compared to the Michael Hawk Peregrine. It's you can see that there. It's quite a bit thicker than the Peregrine. This is 3/16 of an inch, and this is 1/4 inch steel. And that's it for the anatomy of a knife. Hope this helps as I produce other videos. Hopefully this answers some of the questions that you had. Please let me know in the comments below if there's any other questions you might have about the anatomy of a knife or what a specific part of the knife is used for, and I'd be happy to answer those questions. And as always, don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button if you haven't already. Until next time, this is Gear Modder signing off.